We are coming to you live from our Auckland Park studios, and this is Prime News on SABC 3 and in your top stories at this hour.
Throughout the discussions and debates, there was an emphasis on the urgency of implementing our policies and decisions.
The ANC president has called on fellow party members to urgently implement decisions taken at the party's 5th National General Council to ensure transformation to the country's current state.
Starting with a preliminary investigation which confirmed that a breach had indeed occurred in respect to a few of the exam scripts.
One of the officials at the Department of Basic Education implicated in the breach of the 2025 matric examinations is said to be a parent to one of the learners alleged to have cheated.
As much as we can have the most appropriate candidate from a professional point of view and the expertise, equally compelling is the level of ethics.
And board member of the Stellenbosch University Anti-Corruption Unit says South Africans should appoint a new national director of public prosecutions with lessons learned in light of allegations of judicial infiltration and misconduct by certain government officials. It's a Thursday night and we are bringing you the top stories of the day. Welcome to Prime News on SABC 3. My name is Beki Mutumomoleta, your host for this evening. Let's get straight to the point and take a look at your leads. And here they are. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has called on fellow ANC members to urgently implement decisions taken at the party's 5th National General Council to ensure transformation to the country's current state. Speaking during the closing of the NGC gathering in Boksburg, Ramaphosa declared that the party must have a step change going forward. He went further to reaffirm that the party is embarking on a journey of renewal and rebuilding its structures.
You came here to engage with one another and to ensure that the views that had been expressed by members in your branches were uplifted to this level. Throughout the discussions and debates, there was an emphasis on the urgency of implementing our policies and decisions. We can summarize the central message of this NGC as disciplined implementation is the #1 priority that the ANC must focus on. We agreed that we must rid our movement and indeed our government of this disease of not implementing decisions that have been taken. And there must therefore be a step change from now going forward. We must inculcate in our culture of work the ability to take decisions and immediately work on a time frame of when those decisions will be implemented.
Next up, one of the Department of Basic Education officials implicated in the breach of the 2025 matric examinations is said to be a parent to one of the learners alleged to have cheated. Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwahube held an urgent briefing this morning to announce the breach. She outlined how it happened and the steps being taken against those implicated.
This year's National Senior Certificate marking process kicked off on the 1st of December in 183 marking centres across the country. On the 2nd of December, the Gauteng Department of Education alerted the National Department to a possible breach. It was an unusual similarity between the answers provided by a candidate and the answer provided in the marking guideline for the English Home Language Paper 2 that raised red flags.
This raised an immediate red flag and triggered what we call the standard protocols, starting with a preliminary investigation which confirmed that a breach had indeed occurred in respect to a few of the exam scripts.
It was soon revealed that the breach came from within the Department of Basic Education. The investigative team conducted interviews with the first group of learners whose scripts were flagged. and later expanded this to additional learners likely to have been privy to the examination material. 26 learners from 7 schools in Pretoria were identified. Evidence suggests that the papers were given to a parent who is a DBE official by a colleague who works in the examination unit. It's since been determined that of the 162 papers set, 3 subjects were accessed prior to the exams. These are English Home Language Papers 1, 2 and 3, Math Papers 1 and 2, and Physical Science Papers 1 and 2. The papers were shared via a USB storage device.
Over 900,000 learners sat for the NSC exams. Our system picked up only 26 learners out of that number across 7 schools. And this is an important thing to remember.
Sanctions against those found guilty include not being able to rewrite an exam for the next 3 exam cycles. Umalusi, the exam's quality assurer, has been notified of the breach, and a final report on the investigation will be given to the Minister and Umalusi on the 31st of December. Abra Barbia, SABC News, Parliament.
A shortlisted candidate for the position of National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Menzi Simelane, has described the legal profession as extremely conservative. He says dealing with judges was probably the biggest issue he has encountered, especially when tackling the transformation agenda. Simelane, one of the 6 candidates being interviewed, faced opposition from the Democratic Alliance that called for his name to be removed from the shortlist. He was appointed to the influential post by former President Jacob Zuma in December 2009 at the height of state capture involving the Gupta family and their associates. His tenure ended in October 2012 after the Constitutional Court upheld a challenge by the DA, ruling that Zuma had ignored concerns about Simelane's integrity and honesty.
Dealing with judges was probably one of the biggest issues and transformation, because the legal profession is generally conservative, extremely conservative. And there was a general view at the time that the Constitutional Court judges were political judges because of who they were, irrespective of their stature. Those were the undertones that were confronted with in engaging, that no, the Constitutional Court judges, those are not real judges. If you want to be a real judge, you go via the SCA. So in this debate around the apex courts, one of the view was that leave them as they are. A strong view, which I would say was associated with pro-transformation advocates, it was that remove the SCA, we don't need it. Take it and make it part of the Constitutional Court's Holy Police, but win out those who would be resigning or retiring until you have the acceptable number. There was a big debate on that. After a while, the conclusion was that, no, let's leave it. Let it be an intermediate court. Let's cut out the fight. Let it be an intermediate court. The Constitutional Court would deal with matters from there.
In related news, Advocate Hermione Cronje was also interviewed for the position of National Director of Public Prosecutions, a post central to steering South Africa's fight against corruption and serious crime. She's the former head of the NPA's Investigative Directorate, and her interview comes at a time when the National Prosecuting Authority faces mounting pressure to strengthen accountability, fast-track high-profile prosecutions, and rebuild public confidence in its independence.
In my career in the NPA, I have actually occupied sort of leadership management positions. I was on the AFU national management team, and we met monthly. And I was also involved in many management initiatives for the broader NPA. And from time to time, we would be sent on these management training things where you get psychoanalyzed and your management style gets pinpointed. And typically, I am described as the person who will get the job done. There may be some bodies in the wake in the process of achieving the objective, but I'm the kind of person, when the chips are down, I'm over-focused on the outcome. And yes, there may be some casualties in the process.
Meanwhile, board member of the Stellenbosch University Anti-Corruption Unit, Coogan Pillay, says South Africans should appoint a new National Director of Public Prosecutions with lessons learned in light of allegations of judicial infiltration and misconduct by certain government officials. Pillay says that this portfolio is critical to holding people to account.
As much as we can have the most appropriate candidate from a professional point of view and the expertise, equally compelling is a level of ethics. And I think that is where citizens come in. And I think the process has allowed for feedback. And it was encouraging to see many civil society organizations, many individuals across the country have given input into it. And I think that is where you are seeing the level of satisfaction or dissatisfaction with some of the candidates. But I think most importantly going forward is how do we measure accountability? Given that this portfolio is critical to holding officials to account, officials that have been elected, nominated, and in terms of carrying out the constitutional mandate of ensuring a better life for all.
After the break, the EFF calls for a boycott of the G20 in the United States next year if South Africa is not invited. This and more when we return. Welcome back to Prime News on 3. EFF President Julius Malema has called for a boycott of the G20 in the United States next year if South Africa is not invited. This follows US President Donald Trump's utterances that South Africa will not be invited to the G20 in Miami, Florida next year.
A thumbs up from the economic freedom fighters. Malema has applauded President Ramaphosa for his handling of the G20 summit and matters surrounding it.
I want to say it here without any fear of contradiction. Ramaphosa handled this saga very well. If it was me, it would have been worse.
The leader is calling for global solidarity if South Africa is not extended an invitation by the host of next year's G20.
We are going to mobilize international communities to condemn Trump's action.
Going even further, Malema likened the US president to Adolf Hitler.
Trump is the new Hitler that the world is faced with, and failure to recognize this reality will result in devastating consequences for the global political and economic order.
South Africans must accept that the current tensions between the USA and South Africa will not ease anytime soon.
It doesn't matter what you say, it doesn't matter what you do. The man has taken a decision to go against South Africa, not for what the EFF says, for the South African government position against Israel.
SABC News, Johannesburg.
The Special Investigating Unit has raided a number of properties and business premises in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. The search and seizure operations were conducted from the early hours of the morning, and the raids follow a year-long investigation on multi-million rand fraudulent claims to the UIF by 16 companies.
Tensions were high after members of the SIU pounced on this businesswoman's residence. She threatened to assault an SABC camera operator. A team of investigators from the SIU and various police units raided multiple locations simultaneously. On the KwaZulu-Natal South Coast, this businesswoman allegedly pocketed millions of rands fraudulently. Investigators say she then used the money to buy properties.
They were providing UIF with some false information and ghost employees, and they siphoned an amount of about 161 million rand. Therefore, one of the people that we are following is in this apartment, and that person has received about 18 million of that 161. We are doing this search throughout the country, mainly in KwaZulu-Natal and in Gauteng.
This fund was meant to offer relief to employees who had been left struggling during the COVID-19 lockdown. An undisclosed number of UIF officials are also under investigation.
The syndicates, when they were communicating, because we've seen their WhatsApp group that they were communicating on, and they were clear that they have got people inside that are working with them to make these things happen, because there was no way it would happen without these people being helped from inside.
Gadgets, which include cell phones and laptops, were seized during the raid. Simpiwe Makanya, SABC News, Scottsboro.
We move on to the following. The bail hearing of a Limpopo musician has been postponed to Monday next week in the Polokwane Magistrates Court. The accused musician, Litlogonolo Chauke, popularly known by his stage name Shebe Mabona, had his hearing postponed for his legal representative to conclude closing arguments. Shebe Mabona is facing multiple charges, including possession of illegal firearms, malicious damage to property, and 3 attempted murder charges, amongst others. Thank you for staying with us. News in from Central Africa. The M23 rebels have captured the city of Uvira in the east of the Democratic Republic of the Congo after more than a week of fighting with government forces backed by Burundian troops and militiamen from the Wazalendo group. The strategic city has been serving as the provincial capital of the mineral-rich province of South Kivu.
Officials in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo say the M23 rebels seized the city of Uvira on Wednesday without facing any resistance from government forces and their allies. Violent clashes broke out between them earlier, forcing Congolese soldiers to flee the area. The M23 spokesperson says they have liberated the city. Uvira was the last government-held city in the mineral-rich province of South Kivu. It shares a border with Burundi and is a pathway to other strategic provinces in the DRC.
We have an army and well-trained commandos who we should use to stop the rebels' advance. We should not be constantly talking about negotiations when the rebels continue fighting.
The DRC government has accused Rwanda of launching attacks against its army and civilians as the rebels advance towards Uvira. But Rwanda has denied the charge and accused the DRC of continuing to support a militia known as FDLR that seeks to destabilize its country. The latest escalation in fighting comes barely a week after the DRC and Rwanda signed a peace deal in Washington, D.C., mediated by U.S. President Donald Trump. The U.S. and several European countries have condemned the fighting and urged the M23 rebels and Rwandan forces to immediately stop the offensive in the east of the DRC. More than 200,000 civilians have been displaced in the latest clashes that began last week. Chris Ochamringa, SABC News, Kinshasa.
And now, here's the latest market update as recorded at 7:30 this evening. Let's get into your world of sports. The United Democratic Movement has written to the South African Human Rights Commission to request intervention and investigation into remarks made by Bafana Bafana coach Hugo Broos regarding Orlando Pirates defender Mbekezeli Mbokazi and his agent Basia Michaels. In reference to Mbokazi's late arrival to Bafana Bafana's Africa Cup of Nations training camp due to a missed flight from Durban, a clearly agitated Broos said he's currently a black man, but he will come out white after I've met with him.
Such behavior is unacceptable and has no place in our national sports environment or in our society as a whole. Following these remarks, the UDM has filed a formal complaint with the South African Human Rights Commission. We've also written to the South African Football Association to express our serious concern and disgust at Coach Broos's comments. In our communication, we called on SAFA to investigate the matter thoroughly and to ensure that Hugo Broos is held fully accountable.
Now time for us to take a look at what's brewing under our southern skies. Your forecast is coming up next.
Good evening to you. Let's take a look at all your weather details. Partly cloudy skies in the Western Cape this evening, and isolated showers are expected through parts of the Northern Cape, becoming scattered around Uppington southwards through the central parts of that province. In towards the Free State, scattered showers also expected. Partly cloudy skies for both the northwest province and Gauteng. Ahead towards the start of the weekend, Friday sees some isolated rainfall activity for the Highveld in towards Mpumalanga. Partly cloudy skies for northern KwaZulu-Natal, but widespread showers expected through the dark band in our map. That's for the Northern Cape, southwards into the southern and central Free State, in towards the Eastern Cape. Be on the lookout for that ahead of a cold front which brings with it scattered rainfall for Cape Town on a Friday. Now into some alerts for this evening. Please be on the lookout for the potential of severe thunderstorms through the shade of yellow on the map, as well as the potential for damaging winds and high wave heights along the east coast, mostly in the Eastern Cape province. Ahead towards tomorrow, severe thunderstorms likely again through the shade of yellow and orange, but now stretching southwards towards the coastal provinces, while damaging waves could be a possibility along the Cape Peninsula. Cape Town dropping to 17 overnight, Gqeberha 15, Durban 21, and Johannesburg 14, warming up on Friday to a maximum of 25 degrees. Durban into the low 30s, Gqeberha mid-20s for you tomorrow. Cape Town up to 22, whilst it will be 22 as well in Uppington and De Aar, where lots of rainfall is expected. Now ahead towards the middle of the weekend, and we've got a clearing trend in the west of the country. Cool temperatures expected through the northern parts of the Northern Cape southwards in towards the Western Cape, where rain is persistent along the south coast of the country. That cold front brushing off the east coast of the continent now, but leaving behind it widespread showers for the KwaZulu-Natal province, becoming scattered in towards the Free State, as well as for parts of Gauteng and the Northwest province. That's it from me. Have a great evening.
And that's all we have for tonight. Thank you for tuning in to Prime News on SABC 3. Do join us again tomorrow. And until then, from myself, Becky, and the team, stay ahead. Take care.